So once again, as I tried to say in my welcome, but especially to all of you who are family members of people who have died during the time of the COVID-19 shutdown and were not able to have a funeral mass, it's a real privilege for me to join with all of you today to pray for your loved ones, your husbands, wives, sons, daughters, grandparents, friends, whoever who may have died during that time and has brought a real genuine ache to your own hearts. It is a joy for us to celebrate once again in the resurrection of the Lord, and I hope you feel something of the comfort today. And once again, I'm grateful to Michael Synod and all the members of Catholic Cemeteries Association for making arrangements for this holy celebration. I thought I'd share with you something that maybe I've taken for granted that you know about and don't know about. And it's this cross that I wear. All bishops wear crosses. If you've seen a priest in regular suit and collar, and you notice that there's a chain that goes from his right shoulder over to the left side of his chest. What's on the end of that chest is what's called the pectoral cross. And whenever a bishop celebrates Mass or goes to an important liturgical event, you'll always be noticing that we're wearing the pectoral cross. It's one of the insignias of a bishop, and it's meant to be a public sign of what should be obvious, but our deep love for Jesus Christ. For he is the one who calls us to be his servants. But there's a particular poignant and tender meaning of this particular cross of mine. At 5:03 a.m. on Monday, January the 16th, 2006, my mom passed in St. Vincent Hospital in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was still serving there as bishop. But one of the things that I will never forget, one of the things that was such a privilege for me, is that I was cradling my mother as she took her last breath. Still to this day, it gives me chills to think that God gave me that honor. And about 6 weeks later, I was in Rome for some meetings, and I went to one of the religious stores, and here it was, this particular beautiful cross. And you may not be able to see it, but there is a medallion that is in the center of this cross. And on the medallion is the image of the Blessed Mother cradling her son Jesus after he was taken down from the cross, after he died. And when I saw that cross, I immediately went back to January the 16th and thought how the opposite occurred. This medallion, the mother is cradling the son. January 16th, 2006, the son was cradling his mother. And as a matter of fact, on the very back of the cross, I have an inscription that says as much. The cross has to be the focus that all of us have whenever we take a look at our own lives or when we experience the loss of people whom we love. The reading that we heard today that Annabelle read to us is a reading that's often used at funeral masses. And what we're dealing with here in this particular reading, as Paul was writing to the Church of Rome, is this. Paul is raising up for the intention and the attention of the Roman Christians the power of the cross. And he needed to be able to do so for a couple of reasons. First of all, there were a group of Christians who were having a tough time believing in the resurrection. Some of the Jewish sect did not believe that there was a resurrection after death. And so Paul writes to them in a very powerful kind of way and raises the image of the cross. Here, you have doubts about the resurrection of Jesus, the resurrection of people that you love. Here it is. Look at Jesus Christ. And then there was another problem that existed in the Roman community. You know, at that particular time, Rome was the capital of the world. And so as some people looked at the cross, they thought, well, wait a minute, here's a sign of God's mercy and love. And so he's always going to give that love. And so I'm going to keep on living my life the way I want to live it, trusting that when I breathe my last, it's not going to matter. Jesus is going to forgive me. And Paul basically says, wait a minute, look at the cross here. It's got to make a difference in how you live your life. And don't gamble away all of eternity thinking that you can live an immoral life. Because you got to be walking in the footsteps of Jesus himself, and the cross is meant to encourage you. And then there was the other reality that we hear spoken of in this reading today, where people weren't quite getting what it meant for them to be baptized. That rather than just simply being the ticket that would welcome people into the Christian community, Paul's trying to remember that what happens at baptism is a foretaste of what's to happen at the end of life. That we, in fact, are to die to sin and rise with Christ. And that over and above everything else in the course of everyone's life journey, it's a matter of trying to, with the power of God's grace, to root out sin so that we can put a smile on God's face as we head for his kingdom. And hopefully when we die, we gain that entrance. And so now you can see why this particular reading was so important for Paul to write to the Romans, but why it's so important for all of us. Because let's be honest about it. My heart was so heavy on January 16th, 2006, when I lost my mom. And I can feel for all of you who didn't have the chance to be with people that you love at the moment of their death, or that you weren't able to celebrate the memory of their lives at a funeral home with lots of friends and family, or especially that you couldn't have the consolation of a funeral mass. And today I hope this helps to soothe a little bit of the difficulty, the loneliness that you feel. But once again, might I bring forth to your attention, as I bring it forth to mine, the cross. The cross is our hope and salvation. It's the comfort that Jesus has prepared a place for all of us, including all of our loved ones who have gone before us. And I'd like to let you think for a moment about this. That one of the first things that happened after Jesus died and was taken down from the cross, he was put into the arms of his mother. I truly believe that that's the very same thing that it happens to every single one of our loved ones who've died. They are placed in the arms of our Mother Mary, and she in turn gives them over to her Son, Jesus Christ. May that thought remain with you now and throughout this day. And may it remind you to think about the cross, to think about the intimacy of God, his embrace of our lives, and his promise of eternal life. And may these days, weeks, and months continue to be a consolation for you and me, that we never walk alone. Jesus is with us, and he truly is our resurrection and our life.